The rain over southwest Washington on November 24, 1971 was heavy, freezing, and unforgiving. At 8:13 p.m., the flight crew of Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 felt a sudden, violent upward flexing of the aircraft's tail section. In the cabin below, the aft stairs were lowered into the pitch-black night. The man who had occupied seat 18C was gone. He had stepped off the platform into a blinding storm, descending into the dense wilderness of the Pacific Northwest with $200,000 strapped to his waist, and he was never seen again. This is the case of D.B. Cooper, the only unsolved skyjacking in commercial aviation history, and a modern myth born out of absolute silence. The mystery began hours earlier at the Portland International Airport. A man identifying himself as Dan Cooper purchased a one-way ticket to Seattle. His appearance was completely unremarkable. A dark suit, a white-collared shirt, a black tie, and a mother-of-pearl tie clip. He was the picture of mid-century corporate anonymity. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper handed a folded note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. Accustomed to routine advances from passengers, she placed it unread into her purse. Cooper leaned closer. His tone was entirely calm, devoid of panic. He whispered to her to look at that note and told her that he has a bomb. The note, written in precise all-caps lettering, demanded $200,000 in negotiable American currency, specifically $20 bills, along with 4 parachutes and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. To prove his intent, Cooper opened his briefcase just enough for Schaffner to glimpse 8 red cylinders wired to a large battery. What followed was a display of calculated composure. As the plane circled Seattle to allow the FBI time to gather the cash and parachutes, Cooper sat quietly in his seat. He ordered a second drink, paid his tab, and smoked cigarettes. He demonstrated an intimate knowledge of the local terrain, correctly identifying the city of Tacoma from the air. The crew would later describe him not as a volatile criminal, but as a cool, methodical professional. At 5:43 p.m., the Boeing 727 landed in Seattle. Cooper ordered the pilot to taxi to a remote, brightly lit section of the runway and demanded all window shades be drawn to neutralize law enforcement snipers. Once the ransom money and parachutes were delivered, Cooper permitted all 36 passengers to leave the aircraft. Only a skeleton crew remained on board. Cooper's subsequent instructions revealed a deep, technical understanding of the Boeing 727. He ordered a flight path towards Reno, Nevada, at an altitude below 10,000 feet and a remarkably slow speed of 170 miles per hour. Crucially, he demanded that the cabin remain unpressurized and the aft stairs be lowered. The aircraft took off into an escalating storm. Visibility was near zero. Somewhere over the rugged, heavily forested terrain near the Levi's River, Cooper ordered the remaining flight attendant into the cockpit. At 8 p.m., a warning light flashed in the cockpit, signaling the aft stairs had been unsealed. When the pilot asked over the intercom if Cooper required assistance, a single word came back through the static: no. When the plane finally touched down in Reno, FBI agents and heavily armed police swarmed the cabin. they found the aft stairs dragging on the tarmac and an empty interior. Cooper had vanished into the freezing night. A massive ground search followed. For weeks, the U.S. Army, FBI, and local volunteers combed the dense, unforgiving forests of Washington. They utilized helicopters, tracking dogs, and submarines to search local lakes. They uncovered decades-old plane crashes and the remains of lost hikers, but not a single piece of evidence belonging to Cooper. No body, no clothing, no parachute. The name Dan Cooper was quickly identified as an alias. Due to a media wire error, he became known to the public as D.B. Cooper, an enigmatic figure who had seemingly beaten the system and dissolved into the mist. For nearly 10 years, the FBI's investigation, codenamed NORJAK, led to nothing but dead ends. Then, in 1980, a fractured piece of the puzzle surfaced. An 8-year-old boy digging in the sand at a beach known as Tina Bar along the Columbia River uncovered 3 degraded packets of cash. The rubber bands had rotted away, and the bills were severely eroded by weather. The serial numbers matched Cooper's ransom money perfectly. Yet, the discovery solved nothing. The location was miles away from the suspected drop zone. Had Cooper landed in the river and drowned? His body washing away while the money buried itself in the sand? Or had he survived, catching the money only for nature to unearth it? Geologists and investigators debated the silt layers for years, but the rest of the $200,000 was never found. To this day, not a single bill from that ransom money has ever entered circulation. Over the decades, the FBI investigated more than 1,000 suspects, each fitting pieces of the puzzle, but never the whole picture. Richard McCoy, a military veteran and skilled skydiver who executed an identical skyjacking just 4 months later. While his methodology and physical appearance matched the composite sketches, the FBI ultimately ruled him out due to a lack of definitive evidence, placing him on the Thanksgiving flight. Then we have Dwayne Webber, a man who issued a deathbed confession to his wife in 1995, whispering, "I am Dan Cooper." Subsequent searches revealed a history of aviation books with handwritten notes, but DNA testing eventually dismissed him. Then last, but definitely not the least, Robert Rackstraw, a brilliant, deeply troubled Vietnam War veteran with extensive explosives and aviation training. He spent decades teasing journalists and dropping hints, though he never officially confessed before his death. In 2016, after 45 years of chasing shadows, the FBI officially suspended the active investigation, archiving a file that spans several rooms. Did D.B. Cooper survive the jump? The physics of the descent suggest a grim conclusion. Stepping out of a jet into 7-degree Fahrenheit temperatures, wearing only a business suit while plunging into a pitch-black forest of massive fir trees, seems like a death sentence. Furthermore, one of the reserve parachutes he took was a non-functioning training unit, sewn shut by mistake, a detail an expert might have missed in the dark. Yet, if he died, the wilderness kept his secret perfectly. No skeleton, no fabric, no gear has ever been recovered from the forest floor. If he survived, he managed to walk out of the Washington woods, step back into civilian life, and maintain absolute silence until the day he died. He left behind only a black clip-on tie on seat 18C, a few decaying 20s in the sand, and an empty space in the sky where a man once was.